This week's market outlook, guys, we're eyeing tech and SPY futures to start to break out and build off of new highs following last week's drop and pop, right? So what I mean by drop and pop, first half of last week, very aggressive sell-off, and then pretty much halfway through the week, right, we start to sell off, we get aggressive, we come down to that magic area of the 50-day demand, right? Just like I'll show you guys on the tech futures charts, and you guys see this if you look at SPY and QQQ, we love to defend this 50-day area. That's exactly what the bulls did. There's our drop, and boom, halfway through the week, we go ahead and we rally. Following 3 aggressive rally days here, this is sort of the game plan, right? Look for names with strength, look for futures to start to break out of these highs and now build a base off these highs. And now this is, again, market changes every single day, but sort of formulating a game plan for the week. I would really love for today to be a day where we start to break out of those highs, and then tomorrow be a day where we maybe pull back into demand, build off of those highs, use the highs maybe even as support, and then that would be the day that we really put our foot on the gas. Today, obviously, you guys know, contracts are the most expensive on Mondays. I tend to try to keep it pretty light on Mondays, regardless of how aggressive and nice the market is setting up. And if we can set up and everything goes according to plan, it looks like Tuesday, Wednesday will be really nice days to put the foot on the gas. Definitely have some setups I love today that we'll dive into. Let's take a quick look at tech futures. If we dive into tech futures here, sort of same thing, right? A little bit more choppy of a chart here, but same thing. We defended that 50-day. There was our drop midweek and went ahead and popped and rallied the last 3 days of the week. And now we're kind of at this 15-20 area in the tech futures where we're eyeing that breakout for potentially a next leg up, right? We need to define the 20-day as support, and this goes for SPY futures as well. That was very, very important area throughout the past month. Going back to mid-July, we defended that 20-day. Even you go all the way back to, you could go back to the beginning of June. We treated the 20-day as heavy support. Now, obviously, 50-day has kind of been used as our last line of defense. How do we respond to that, right? And that's what we're going to really be looking at this week. And this week is a very important week, right? Do we go ahead and we break out and build off of those highs, or do we continue to kind of ride along? And either way, we have that rising support. So something should give this week. As long as the volume's there, looks like something's going to give. Okay, guys, so now sort of diving into specific names, now that we've kind of looked at futures, I want to pull up a couple important names here that I'm keeping an eye on for Monday. NVDA, probably my favorite setup this week. Gapped up to 211, up $3 pre-market. A lot of strength, a lot of volume, right? We go to the 60-minute chart, you see that Thursday, Friday, some pretty crazy volume. I also saw something that came out over the weekend that Nancy Pelosi is starting to buy in the money, December 2022 calls, something like that. Not really sure the key details there, but definitely something I'm going to be doing a little extra research on, because that's big, right? So I'm gonna do a little extra research on that after I shoot this video, let you guys know what's going on with that. Obviously, we know when Nancy Pelosi likes to buy something, it tends to explode, which makes sense for the past 2 days, especially if that came out over the weekend, which it looked like it did. Now, looking strictly from a technical standpoint, I'm eyeing a micro bounce. I want to keep a close eye on this 208, 209 area for today, and I would love to see institutions step in on this name. And what I mean by that is when we're looking at the option flow, I would really love to see aggressive short-term expiration call buying repeat, right? So I want to see more than one come in. I want to see 3, 4, 5 come in within pretty close to the same time span, right? Within a couple minutes of each other, maybe within 10, 20 minutes. NVIDIA, typically a name that doesn't get a crazy amount when you compare to a name like Apple, but a couple million will definitely do the trick on NVIDIA. So let's keep an eye on that flow. Like I said, getting it slightly overextended on the 60-minute, but you have to keep the volume in mind, right? So I'm thinking if we go ahead and we treat this 209 area sort of as a new support, we go ahead and continue to respect this 5-day, could be a very nice bounce. And if we go to the 5-minute, the picture becomes a lot more clear here, right? If we can pull back to this 20-day, which we pretty much defended all week last week, 50-day would be last line of defense, that 207.3 area. But if we go ahead and we pull back there, definitely could be a very nice breakout spot, or excuse me, a very nice bounce spot. Second name I'm keeping an eye on, Netflix, sort of same story as NVIDIA, where The volume really stepped in the last 2 days of last week. And now I'm kind of keeping an eye on, here we go, here's the daily chart here. So you see that volume stepped in last 2 days of last week. And now definitely not a setup I love, right? Not like NVDA. I really love the NVDA setup. But I am thinking we pull back to this 540 area. Looks like a very strong bounce spot. If we go to the 60-minute, right, it's kind of same thing. Picture becomes more clear. You have this 20-day support right here. Definitely want to keep an eye on that, especially with Netflix, probably more so than NVIDIA. Keep a very close eye on that flow, right? Because any amount of flow is going to do the trick for this name. It doesn't really take much flow for Netflix to move. If you see 1 or 2 orders come in, as long as they're a couple $100K in size each, in aggressive call buying, that's usually going to go hand in hand with a $20, $30 day in the stock, right? Obviously, as we know, Netflix can be very, very frustrating to trade, especially kind of when it gets up to this area here. So I don't want to buy these highs. I'm avoiding the highs. I only want to buy if we get that $8 to $10 pullback. All right, guys, and last name I am focusing on here, unless anything comes in last second, is a potential rally in Square. I'm looking for a 267 daily confirmation. Had this set up on my watch list last week, and I told you guys, let's see if they can come down to that 50. Well, they did, so trade was never validated. However, if we start to build here, right, and we can reclaim that 50, reclaim the 10 around 267, we go to the 20-minute chart, you know, we start to push around here, 265. Now we have room to 270, and now it becomes more clear that there's a lot of potential in this name. Again, we still have room to the downside. So let's make sure that we're confirming the macro chart and we're getting some flow come in, right? Anytime you have flow coming in, you guys notice I'm really highlighting flow on all 3 of these names, and that's because when you're trading large cap tech stocks, when you have aggressive call buying, 9 times out of 10, it's going to correlate with a big move in the chart within a day or two, right? But especially with short-term expiration, usually good for a day trade, if not a pretty nice gap up the next day. So we're always keeping an eye on that flow, keep an eye on these 3 names. I'll give you guys updates throughout the day, and have a great trading day, everybody.